What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the RC Retro channel. In this episode, we have the Optima Mid 87 World Spec 60th Anniversary Edition, commemorating the debut of the Optima Mid prototype at the 1987 IFMAR Championships in England. This limited edition Optima Mid shares the same standard configuration as the Optima Mid, but includes several option parts, including a different body, to replicate the original prototype that debuted in '87. So this kit is a little bit on the pricey side, coming in at $439 US, which is about $50 more than the standard version of the Optima Mid. But for $50 more, I think it's totally worth it, and here's why. So first off, you're getting a completely different body with this 60th anniversary kit. Rather than getting the standard Optima Mid body, you're getting the Optima Pro body. Next, all the aluminum parts are in this really nice gunmetal finish. Also, the main gear shaft has been upgraded from steel to a lighter, stronger material called duralumin, which is an aluminum alloy. In addition, you get an upgraded carbon fiber upper deck and main chassis. There's also limited edition gunmetal aluminum shock bodies with titanium coated shafts. Also, you get these carbon fiber front and rear shock mounts. There's ball diffs for the front and one for the rear. It includes turnbuckles. And let's not forget about these really cool looking peppermint green wheels. And to top it all off, you get these universal shafts in the front as opposed to just the dog bones with the standard version of the Optima Mid. Now, if you were to add up all of these parts, I'm pretty sure it would cost you more than $50. So again, to me, worth it. Now, if you wanted to go the extra mile, you can get front and rear hubs that are in this gunmetal finish as well, but that's going to cost you about $120, so I'm not quite sure if that's worth it, but I'll let you be the judge. As for this kit, we're going to crack this open now, get building. I'll put up a couple photos and videos along the way to show you the progress, and then at the end, we're going to get a custom painted body all stickered or decaled up, and get this one all done, and then we'll talk a little bit about the build, how it went, and what are the next steps for the Optima Mid World Spec 60th Anniversary Edition. Starting off with Bag A, you're completing steps 1 through 3. You're building your front and your rear differentials, and as a reminder, if you plan on building this, you are going to need super glue. Yes, I know, super glue for the diffs. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Next, we move on to Bag B, where you're completing steps 5 through 7. You are starting off with building the gearbox and then attaching the belt to the differential. And then in step 7, this is where you finally see one of those really nice gunmetal pieces, and that is the motor plate that you're attaching to the rear gearbox. Then on to Bag C, where you're building steps 8 through 11. You're building your slipper clutch. Then you're going to mount your shock tower on there. Then you're going to build your front gearbox with your front differential. Mount your front shock mount on there as well. Then you're taking the whole thing and slapping it to that really nice carbon chassis. On to Bag D, where you're cutting some sponge pieces out to fit it underneath the belt cover, and then you're going to mount that to the chassis. Next, you're mounting some of the pieces that'll be used for the upper deck, and of course, these are some of those really nice gunmetal pieces. Then you're going to build your front suspension, and you're going to take those plus your arms and mount them to the front of the chassis. Next up is Bag letter E. This is steps 17 through 24. There's a lot of steps in this bag. And this is where we first see our first set of turnbuckles. Now, this is one of my least favorite things to do, but I have to say that these ball ends threaded rather easily onto the turnbuckles. And what I like very much with these Kyosho kits is that they give you this wrench to help you with the turnbuckles. The next step is a build highlight for me, and that's mounting the bumper. I really like how Kyosho molds their logo right into the bumper, and I feel like that gives the buggy a nice finished look. And as we continue through Bag E, you're going to build your rear suspension, and you're going to take that and your arms and mount them to the chassis. Then in step number 24, you're building your steerage linkage. And then to start off Bag F, you're going to take your steerage linkage and mount it to the chassis. Now for steps 26 through 31, you are building and mounting your shocks. Now while building shocks are one of my least favorite things to do, that doesn't mean I don't like the way they look. As a matter of fact, these shocks are absolutely gorgeous. I love the gunmetal finish on them with the black collars and the black springs. As a matter of fact, I think these give the Tamiya high cap dampers a run for their money. These are also bottom loading shocks, so make sure you pay careful attention to the directions, and if you build them correctly, you will not have an issue. As far as the O-rings, they say to put a little shock oil on them. I like to coat mine in TDK slime, I guess you can call it. These really seal it in nicely, and I've never had any issues with any of my other Kyosho shocks that I built before. These are lovely. They are plush. I love the way they look. So for steps 34 through 36, you are mounting the carbon fiber upper deck and then taking some of those foam strips and putting them on the inside of the belt cover and then mounting that to the upper deck chassis. So in step number 37, you're supposed to be mounting your motor, but I'm going to hold off on that for now. I am putting on the gear cover, and I have to say, I really like that smoked look that the belt covers and the gear cover has. I think that is just awesome. In step 40, you are assembling and mounting the wing mount, which, by the way, has 4 adjustable positions. So for step 41 and 42, you are mounting your wheels and your tires. They come with foam inserts, and make sure you cut the inside edges of the foam so they fit nicely in the tire. If you look on the one on the right, you can see that this is a regular foam that is uncut versus the one on the left now, which is cut. You see that the rubber lays nicely and will mount to the tire better. Also, these come coated in wax, so what I do is I take mine and let them soak in really warm soapy water and take a scrub brush just to scrub the wax off so you have none of that white waxy film on the outside of the tire. So on to cutting out the body and painting it up, which is step number 44. I decided not to go box art. I wanted something a little different, so I sent my body out to be custom painted. Now I'll talk a little bit more about this at the end of the video, but I asked for a vintage looking paint job and I think the artist nailed it. Not to mention they were able to match up that peppermint green perfectly to the wheels. So I'm just so excited how this came out, and I think it's going to look even better once we get the stickers on. So for the stickers, started off with the wing, came out awesome, loving it. Onto the body. Just stickered up one side so far. Really like the way that looks. Great. So with that, cue the music and go to video montage. The Optima Mid 87 World Spec Edition is done, and I am just thrilled with how this turned out. The build quality on this is superb, and I had so much fun building this. I'm going to make this bold statement, and it might not sit well with some, but when it comes to re-releases, me personally, I think Kyosho hands down is the best. I have nothing against Tamiya or even Team Associated for that matter. I love both of those companies, but I think Kyosho is just a step above the rest, and I am going to say this is probably the best release of 2024, with the Yokomo Super Dogfighter coming in at number 2 right behind this. Now many of you watching might already have an Optima Mid and be on the fence about purchasing one of these 87 World Spec Editions, but here's what I'm going to say.
You hesitate, master dates.
Exactly. So if you can still get your hands on one of these, I highly suggest you do so before they're gone. It's almost as if Kyosho took the kitchen sink and threw it at here, as all the parts on here are top notch. So as far as the build, you probably noticed towards the end I skipped over a few steps, and that's because those steps involved installing electronics into the buggy. And I am not going to put in electronics because I think I'm going to keep this purely as a shelf queen. Also, I did not put on the clear wing pieces as I really don't like the way that looks, so I figured it just looks better as is. So I think it turned out fine. Okay, so let's talk about this body. I know the paint scheme on here is to commemorate Akira Kogawa's 87 Optima Mid. I do like the colors, just not a fan of the layout. So I ended up sending the body to Custom RC Graphics. I told Larry, hey man, I want something that is kind of vintage and retro themed on here. Gave him total creative control, and this is what he sent back to me, and I love the way it looks. He did a great job. I think he nailed it. As for the stickers on here, I ended up mimicking most of the sticker placement on here with a slight few changes, but altogether I think it looks absolutely awesome. So on a final note, and I'm not trying to end this video negatively, but rather than using the white letter stickering for the tires, I decided to use a paint marker. I mean, that's what I pretty much do with my Tamiyas, right? Well, I did one tire and I really did not like the way it came out, but I already did one, so I was fully committed, so I had to do the other three. And I feel like the lettering on the Kyosho tires are a lot thinner than that of the Tamiya tires, and so I don't really think it came out that great. But what are you going to do? It's done. Still looks good, just not as clean and crisp as when you fill in the letters on a Tamiya tire. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Well, that's just about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Tell me what you think by dropping a comment down below of how the Optima Mid World's 87 Spec turned out. I just want to thank you all for your support, and of course, I'll see you all in my next. Take care now.